Hello boys and girls, I want to do lesson 12-2 with you today. So if you don't have a ruler at home, I sent a copy of this page in your envelope from the school that has a copy of a ruler on it that has inches and centimeters. Notice that the inch side on this has the IN right on it, and inches are larger than centimeters. Okay, we're going to learn more about that later. But if you have a regular ruler, that's probably more comfortable to use than the paper, but you'd have to cut this ruler out in order to measure with it, okay? All right, so on lesson 12-2, that's on page 513 in your packet, okay? We're skipping that first question as we often do, and we're going right on into the inside where the lesson is, okay? So now I'm on the green band on top, and I want you guys to follow along with me while I read that. You can measure the length and the height of an object using inches, all right? And the abbreviation for inches is IN. It says start measuring from the 0 mark on the ruler, all right? So in this case, your 0 mark on your ruler is the end of the ruler on the paper. But if you're using a regular ruler at home, you might have to make sure that you're lined up with the 0 because it might not be at the end of the ruler. Okay, to measure to the nearest inch, look for the halfway mark. Okay, so we're not measuring exactly today, we're getting close. So we're going to get to the nearest inch. So you have to look for your halfway mark. So you can see between the 1 and the 2, and between the 1 and the 2 on your ruler, there's a longer line in between. It's exactly halfway between, that's the halfway mark. The object is longer, if the object is longer than the halfway mark, you go to the greater number. So if it's past the halfway mark on the way to the 2, then you say it's about 2 inches. Okay, not exactly 2 inches, but about 2 inches. All right. Then, in the last part, it says if the object is shorter than the halfway mark, use the smaller number. All right. So if it's not quite at the halfway mark, then you say it's 1 or whatever number it is before then. All right. You go with the lower number because you're getting an estimate still. It's about that amount. It's not exact yet. Okay, so for their first example on number 1, oh, hold on. I do want you to cross out the convince me box. All right, that's about measuring things in our classroom. We're just going to skip over it. All right. For number 1, they're measuring the height of a notepad. So first they made an estimate. They made an educated guess. Okay, they said it's about 12 inches. Maybe they used their thumb to make that guess. Or maybe they used what they already know about notebooks to make that guess. But they didn't say, oh, I think that's 1,000 inches, because that's a wild guess, okay? An estimated guess is one that you've put some thought into. Maybe you've used some tricks to try to find something close to the answer. And then when they measured it with a ruler, they found that it was about 11 inches, so they were pretty close. Now for number 2, they'd like you to measure the length of a pencil case. If you don't have a pencil case at home, just use something that's close to the size of a pencil case, right? Like a chapter book is close to the size of a pencil case. All right, so you can pause it now and measure a pencil case. Now first you want to say about how many inches you think it is, and then you want to measure it with your ruler and find about how many inches it actually is. Okay, so pause there, finish that up. All right, now we're going to look at the next page. All right, so I'm looking at numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6. They want you to do exactly the same thing for 3, 4, 5, and 6 that we just did for 1 and 2. First, you make an educated guess, which is your estimate. About how big do you think these things are? You're looking at a book bag, a paintbrush, the height of a cup, or the length of a crayon box. Now, if you don't have a paintbrush at home, use a pencil. Okay, that's close enough. So I want you to pause now, and I want you to do the estimate and then measure all 4 of those items. Go ahead. Okay, now 7 and 8 down below. I'm going to read these both to you. You can pause after each one, answer it, and then go to the next one. Jason measures an object. The object is just shorter than the halfway mark between 8 and 9 on his inch ruler. How long is the object? Remember, when it's shorter, you have to go with the smaller number. Okay, number 8. Gina measures an object. The object is just longer than the halfway mark between 9 and 10 on her inch ruler. How long is the object? Remember, when it's past the halfway mark, you go with the higher number, right? Because it's closer to that higher number than it is to the lower number. All right. Now, on the back, you can take a minute to pause to do those other 2, and we'll look at number 9. Pam says that each cherry is about 1 inch wide. Is she correct? Explain. So, use your reasoning there. Does that seem about right to you? What could you compare a cherry to in size that would show that it either is close to 1 inch or it's not close to 1 inch? Pause and do that one. Okay, now we're going to skip number 10. That's another one about classroom measuring. We're just going to skip it. All right, and number 11. Explain how to use an inch ruler to measure the length of an object. Okay, so you've done some practicing with that so far today. So tell someone as though you were telling a first grader who had no clue how to measure something, explain how to measure. There are steps that you have to do. You have to start at the 0, right? And if we're measuring the length to the nearest inch, then we have to decide, does it come before the halfway mark or after the halfway mark, to decide which number we're going to go to for the nearest inch, which again is not exact, it's about, okay? It's close. All right, pause while you fill that in and do a good job writing a nice sentence there. And then we'll look at number 12. Use your ruler. About how many inches long are the 2 stamps together? Okay, and they give you choices. So pause your video here and do those. Fill that in, which one you think that is. Measure right on the line. They give you the nice arrow below. You can measure the arrow, and that shows you about how many inches it is. Okay? So, I hope that you had good practice with your ruler today. Tomorrow, we will do lesson 12-3 together. I will see you later this morning.